Hello there, outliers. This is Niyama Shang, and this is the Outlier to Trailblazer podcast, where we really focus on the journey, the inner journey that goes along with being someone who creates differently in the world and has success that is beyond the norm. Today, there's something right now that's really playing on me, and it feels like a great way to just introduce this conversation. And that's the element of vision and being understood. So one of the things that I find to be really common around being an outlier is being in a place where the things that you say, the vision that you have, or the things that you're trying to articulate aren't necessarily understood by those that are around you. And try as you might, when you bring in more clarity or you bring in more distinctions, people may not necessarily be on the same page. I personally know this one quite a bit. And when I talk to people, the misunderstanding comes in different ways. I think it's one of the bigger challenges of being an outlier, right? To see something that other people haven't seen, or to have been in so many different environments that your creative mind works differently, or the examples that you have to draw from are so different. And a lot of us out there are really creating change in the world, social change, helping to change people's consciousness or the way that they're looking at things. And to be able to be understood is a part of that process. I'm a part of a group where I'm constantly reminded of some of the levels where I'm not able to communicate what is really on my mind. What some of the levels in the level of depth, but also in the level of just pure clarity for others. And it's something that has been, honestly, to tell you the truth, when it first happened, I used to take it very personally, in the sense of, oh, if you don't understand what I'm saying, then you don't understand me as an individual. I was lucky enough to be in a group of really powerful people, and someone came up to me afterwards and said, I see you here. And let me make sure that I'm not skipping over something important here. When I felt the fact that they weren't understanding me as an individual, that led to frustration, that led to anger, that led to also a sense of hopelessness, a sense of, if you, my tribe, aren't able to understand me, then who out there would? And someone came and she asked me, she's like, I've noticed this here. And she just remained in conversation with me as I was navigating the feelings of frustration. She said something that stuck with me. She said, what if when you hear that you're not being understood, it isn't about you as a person, but instead it's about the language that you're choosing to use. Perhaps, perhaps we just don't understand what it is that you're trying to say. How would you approach it differently? What could you ask us to help us get to a level of clarity that will move with that? Level of clarity that will help us be able to understand where you're coming from. And it's in that space there, just that space, being able to remove the reflection from being a personal thing to being one that, because I mean, quite frankly, my mission, my purpose, what I am and what I do in the world is so deeply tied to me. And to not understand that means you don't understand me, or does it? And so I bring this into today's conversation as we go out and we're sharing our visions and we're looking to participate and collaborate and collab in creative ways, and to really just voice the frustration that might come with not being understood. And especially as a visionary leader, this might be something that comes along. And to give us a little bit of a space, a bit of a distinction, to be able to really approach it from a place of, how can I help clarify my message versus how does it have to be as an internal reflection? So I'm setting that up here as a little bit of context. I don't know where today's conversation is going to go, but I know that I'm with one of the most creative people uh, that I've gotten the chance to spend time with. Today we get to meet with Zach Klein, and he is someone who, no, Zach, I'll just let you know who you are for me. Zach is someone who really embodies being able to live with creativity, but also to be able to live with groundedness. And when I experience Zach, there's what I get about you, Zach, is that there's a level of genuineness, a level of playfulness, a level of just like service that is it's rare. It's rare out there. So today I'm really excited to be able to see some of the things that you're building right now and to be able to support you on your journey with whatever is coming next. It's great to be able to be in conversation with you.
Thank you, Niyama. It's really wonderful to be here with you, and thank you for your service. It means so much to me.
Absolutely, absolutely. We're gonna have some fun here today, but I want to give us a chance to. I want to get to see where you are in your journey right now, and really be with you on that. So one of the things that we really focus on here is understanding the difference, understanding the hidden inner journey that goes along with the outer successes that we see, right? And I'd love to, if you could right now, if someone was going to just look at you from the outside, you know, what would most people see? What do most people think about when they think about Zach, at least as it shows externally? I'd love to just get a bit of your journey, understand where you've been and what you're up to in the world.
Beautiful. So can I first just vocalize a fear that I have and just start with being vulnerable and transparent? I find myself in the midst of a transition in my life, and we've talked a little bit about that in other conversations, and the transition is really uncomfortable for me because there's a lot of unknowns, there's a lot of uncertainties, and I feel like my career is shifting in ways that I don't fully understand or know where it's going next. And the reason that I struggle with that and I'm afraid in this moment is because this is putting myself out in a public way, right? And there's a desire to have a polished look, to know exactly what I'm doing, how I serve people, the work that I do in the world, and what it looks like, and everything. Like I have the desire, I think, like most human beings, to present this polished package. And right now things are messy. So that's like the space that I just wanted to vulnerably share with you and with your listeners. To begin.
Yeah, Zach. Let's slow down with that. Thank you very much for choosing to do that. I really honor you. I really honor you, and I acknowledge you for being willing to put that out there. You know, one of the things as you were saying here is like, oh yeah, messy. I can do messy is a place that really feels like there's growth, and I really acknowledge you for being willing to share that messiness. I will share, like, there are clients that I've gotten because I have chosen to be messy very publicly, who have reached out to me afterwards and just wanted to make a connection because they recognize my mess and their mess and so on, and the messiness that I choose to be in now. So as we go through this year, please just know that perhaps your messiness and that like is exactly what it's going to serve here, and it's exactly going to continue to help move you forward. I really think that's important here because as I talk about the messiness as it applies to you, I think that I need to also just own my own elements of it. You know, I can feel how, even just with this introduction here today, I chose to talk about the being misunderstood because it's very real for me in this moment. Just a few hours ago, I had another conversation that was right there in that. And I went to my list of topics that I was going to talk about. And I'm like, oh, this one seems clean. This one seems clean. I'm like, there's no energy in it. There's no emotional energy in it right now. And I'm going to go and I'm going to express this here, and it might be messy, but it's the thing that needs to come out. So let's do this. Like, I would love for this to be the messiest conversation that I've had, and I've done messy, recorded messy. I would love for this for this place to be like, if we don't get messy, that we haven't actually gotten there. Are you good with that in this conversation?
I'm so good with that. I'd love a messy conversation.
Awesome. So being in the messiness here, like let's see what the cleaned and polished parts of you might look like. How might others see you in the world? How might others think about you in the world? Then we can get into the messy and play and go from there.
That sounds great. So I've done a lot of things in my life, something of a Renaissance man, and I like it that way. One of the key pieces that's really important in my journey is creativity, as you already mentioned. I've been trained and gone through many years of schooling to be a visual artist, and I did that for many years in Los Angeles, and still very visually oriented. So I bring a type of artistry to the work that I do. I also care very much about play. I spent 5 years as a nursery school teacher before I became an entrepreneur, and just became obsessed with child development and human development as through the lens of play. I find that it's still a really important part of my practice and the businesses that I work on. A few years ago, I started a company called Play Mountain, and this is a custom play structure company. It originally began because I was interested in trying to combine my interest in art and design with play and the ways that I believe play can change the world, as well as the transformational work that I've been doing, that I've been trained in. But also been trained as a therapist, been doing my own personal development work for 20 years, and currently have a business as a coach and a consultant. And I work primarily with artists and creative professionals. And my interest is in helping people to be able to freely express their unique individuality in all aspects of their lives. But in particular, I'm interested in helping people to be able to find purpose and meaning and their unique voice in their career choice, in their work. So I love helping artists launch major projects that they've been dreaming about for years. I love helping people get organized so that they can make money off of their craft and become smart business people. I love playing with the people that I work with my clients. I also have a background in movement and somatic experiencing, which is a body-based trauma resolution modality. So I'm very interested in the ways that movement allows us to express ourselves and to release layers of things that aren't true, that need to be released from the human psyche and human body. So all of this is kind of a cauldron, maybe it sounds kind of clean, but right at the moment, it's to me it's very messy because there's all these ingredients, and I'm wondering where and what will happen next. How will my particular expression unfold in the next span of my journey?
I'm glad that we get to be in the kitchen here with you, Zach, and I'm really thrilled that we get a chance to get to see that part of it, right? The real parts of it. Like in my mind, as you were saying, I'm like, oh, we're going to stir the pot today. We're just going to stir the pot. In that realm of, I just want to check in with you. I realized as we were doing here, like we started out here, and you just vocalized a fear that was happening for you internally, right? And I'm really curious. I'm curious how you feel now in this moment before we go any further. Like after putting words to that fear, before as compared to how you felt beforehand. I'd just like to just just check in with you on that.
Yeah. So I feel more grounded and powerful and clear just to be able to be real and to vocalize that. Another piece that I thought was just reflecting back on my journey and being able to share that with you. It's like, wow, what a badass I am. What like
Yes,
what
indeed.
awesome things that I've been able to accomplish and to do, which is a helpful reminder right now because I tend to have a different perspective. Um, so when I work with clients, I ask people to step through this fire, the same fire that I'm experiencing right now, and it's never easy. It's never easy, but I feel um, I'm just in a part of the creative process that's about deconstruction. It's about uncertainty. It's about questions. And it's integral to the creative process. You can't separate creativity from this stage that I'm experiencing. As much as I would like to be in the always creative, always manic, always like making things and feeling good about what's going on, there has to be rest. There has to be hibernation. There has to be reevaluation, deconstruction, a type of death for new life to occur.
Yeah, there's as you're saying this, one of the things that comes to mind is someone once gave me a piece of paper and she told me about had 4 trees in it, right? And it was all the same tree, but it was the tree in different times of the year. And it's just like we have our external seasons, which we see the winter, the spring, summer, and fall, and then along with it, we have our internal seasons, our own internal winter, our internal spring, summer, fall, and one of the things that you're describing here to me feels like we're used to seeing people in like the spring and in the summer where they're creating and there's new life and they're trying new things out and there's a lot of energy. And in the summer, it's like, wow, we're just basking in all the results of everything that we've done. And a lot of times it feels like if you're not living spring or summer, then there's something wrong. And I really want to like what I'm hearing from you is it feels to me that you're in a period of fall or winter where you're like let's let some of the things that I've done let's break that down. It feels like I'm okay with there being like little deaths along the way. Some things might like they grew, but now might be time for it to go through. There's hibernations, but you use some of that language, so it feels like there's a wintry feel, winter season here where you get a chance to just be able to come in, be a little bit more reflective, and to store up energy for whatever else is coming up next, and to also just go through the process of allowing that to be exactly right. And I call this out here because in this conversation, I don't want to feel like we need to rush through and get you to spring. It's like there's work to be done in winter. There's work to be done during that
Yes.
period of time. So
Mhm.
I'm curious what if any of this resonates with you, and then we'll go on from there.
Yeah, it very much resonates, this idea of being in winter. That's how it feels. It feels like a hibernation. It feels like a need to crawl into the cave and to become reborn to some degree. Um, I don't like it, right? Because as much as I can intellectualize that this is part of the process, it's still very uncomfortable, and it still feels like there's like a loss or uh, that being lost is present. Um, Having questions and being in uncertainty is present. Um, this is such an important part of being human. Such an important part. And I want to be able to inhabit this space with as much grace and presence as I would the highs of creativity and movement.
Absolutely. Yeah. So let's be with that. Let's be in that space right now, and let's honor that as well. We're here. We have some time here to be in service, and I would love to really do that for you. So, with where you are right now, what would make this an, an amazing conversation for you?
So I'll just reach for the stars here because, oh,
Yeah.
what would make it a really amazing conversation is if I came away with a level of clarity about what comes next, um, about where I can put my energy, and maybe that's the clear felt sense, the body knowledge that it's not. Um, there's no right answer or wrong answer, right? And that I could choose whatever. Or maybe it's like, no, this is actually what comes next. Um, I would love to have that clarity or acceptance, full acceptance into the fact that I don't know and that I can't necessarily figure it out on my own. Both of those would be huge benefits to me in terms of where I am now.
The question that comes to mind is, how could the fact that you don't know right now be an amazing gift to you?
um, there's a humbleness in not knowing. And I think there's always gifts and lessons in being humble or being humbled. Um, there's a tenderness there. I can feel that tenderness now coming up in the form of sadness, just a little bit behind my eyes. Um, there's also just something beautiful about surrendering. So much of my recent journey has been about slowing down and not trying to force anything, but to really just take some deep breaths and surrender to a higher power and say, I'm not sure what to do. And maybe it's not my job to figure this out. I definitely know it's not something I can do by myself. So that there's richness there. There's richness in not knowing.
Yeah, I am really tempted to go into creation mode with you because it's really fun, and to address the first part of what you said would make this amazing. And there's a part of me that recognizes that that's almost like that's trying to rush out of the winter and hurry spring along, and spring will come. Like it's like Groundhog's Day. We're in the middle of that kind of period right now, And if it's 6 more weeks of winter, then let's make sure that you're enjoying the snow season or whatever it is that's there, right? So I'm going to play more in the other way of things, and rather than trying to get you through anything, it's let's see what happens if we were able to fully honor what this part is. And look, I can say that having gone through several winters myself, and knowing that once the ice had melted and it was like, oh, this is what I want, there was no stopping me. People are like, you're slow down, you're too ambitious, all that stuff. I'm like, you don't understand. I'm here. It is time. I'm ready to play. Like it was just, I was unleashed. But it wasn't until I had been able to let go of a lot of different things, the things that wouldn't serve me, the things that would hold me down as I was trying to be unleashed in the world. I think part of what happens is that, like, we're going for it, we're trying to make progress, and we're seeing that what we're doing is not getting us the results that we want. And it's like we can keep going out and creating, or we can take some time to really slow down and be in that reflection.
Mm. Yes,
You know?
absolutely. That resonates.
So you talked earlier about you talked about, like, maybe something might need to die. And I want to invite that in. That this is messy for me to talk about that. That's usually not a topic that I'm great with, but I'm really curious right now. What needs to die around what you're doing to really, while you're in this period of incubation and winter?
Yeah, I know instantly. And I'm really feeling the impact of that right now emotionally. So I just want to honor that. What needs to die is something that's been with me most of my life, and it is it's a connection, it's intertwining. In the somatic experiencing work, we call it an overcoupling between the actions that I do in the world, my accomplishments, my achievements, and my sense of worth or value. Those two things feel overcoupled. They are overcoupled, and this has been an experience for my entire life, as long as I can remember. Is okay. The way that I will be loved, the way I need to be loved, is by achieving, is by showing that I can do these things, is by proving myself through action. It used to be academics. It used to be how I would perform, and it's turned into all kinds of other things. But the piece, that's the piece that I think ultimately needs to be laid to rest. The motivation to do things, the twisted motivation, the belief that if I'm not doing something worthwhile, I'm not worthy.
Do me a favor here. Tell me a little bit about the benefit of this twisted motivation, because you've had a lot of success. You said it yourself. You just went back over your journey here, and you're saying that this has been something that's been with you your whole life. So rather before we try and just let it go, I'd love to spend some time celebrating and valuing that for what it's brought to you so far. So can you tell me what are some of the benefits that you've gotten out of this twisted motivation, or actually let's just say out of the overcoupling?
Yeah, some benefits of the overcoupling are it's given me a sense of purpose. It's given me focus in my life so that I can make decisions about where I want to go and how I want to perform. I mean, it's really pushed me to achieve in a lot of ways, and I'm glad that you are bringing that up, because it's not all shadow. It's not all a problem. There's beauty in that process as well. I think it also gave me a sense of identity. Being a hard worker, always being studious. Identities are important, and it helped shape me. It helped motivate and move me towards action.
And can tell me a little bit about this part of your identity that's wrapped up in this.
Um, yeah, I mean, to put it simply, I think it really just goes back to childhood. The logic of a child. I'm not being loved in the way that I want to be loved, or the way that really feeds me. And so I'm going to try everything in my power to get that love. And the twisted logic, as we're describing it, the overcoupling, was, I receive the love when I perform or do well in certain tasks. So I'm going to keep doing that. And it's the connection between, if I do these tasks, then I receive love, the kind of love that I need and want.
And if the kind of love that you need and want was just like present, like if you were able to decouple the two, and it sounds to me that what's driving things is not the accomplishments, but it's the love that you get, or that you feel you'll get as a result of that. if that love for you was just able to be present and it was actually decoupled, what would be what would that feel like for you? What would that be like for you in life?
Yeah. Um,
I can see you smiling there.
yeah. Yeah. So I'm actually I'm feeling it right now. It's a kind of open compassion and acceptance for who I am, completely independent of what I've done or what I will do or what I'm doing. It's uh, it's just this rich, deep well, this infinite well of love, self-love. It's connected to the knowledge that I'm safe, that I'm cared for, that the universe has got my back, that all my needs are taken care of, and that I'm just beautiful and perfect as I am.
As you're saying this here, there's a sense to me that's like, what if during this period of time you just found more ways to be more open and to allow that compassion and that self love to be able to take to be able to be in the driver's seat, or at least in the passenger seat. You can be in the driver's seat, you know. But to have that be the thing that drives you forward, and to explore and expand, and to be with those things that continue to fill you up from that place, and to experience it as you are in this moment, where it's just there, because it's like in this moment you had access to that thing that was actually being put behind the wall of achievement. It was like you had to go on a journey of achievement first, and then you were able to experience it. And just now, right here, you were able to access that and feel that in this moment. And what if for the next, for the period of time that you're in, that's what, that's what you choose first. And you choose to go with that first, knowing that the accomplishments and such, we can always add on top. Again, you know how to accomplish, you know how to create, you create businesses, you do work, but we're able to bring that back on top of that once the foundation of is in order for where you are right now in life. How would that be for you?
That would be incredible. Yeah, I would love to exercise and practice that. I feel like that's very much the work is staying open and compassionate and loving towards myself. The challenge involved is I've got I have in the past I've tended to have a loud critical voice, um, and so there's a lot of old patterns and noise that has had a long time running, and they're just beliefs, they're just stories, they're not true. So as much as in this time those voices say you can't slow down, you have to push, you have to get back up, you have to make more money, you have to do this, this is dangerous if you stay still, right? As much as that's going on, I think um, the greater lesson is about letting go, slowing down, and opening my own heart to compassion and love.
Yeah, I can feel like it's a safety. There's a safety element to it all. It's interesting that we're talking about overcoupling, and when I started out this conversation, I was very much in how I was overcoupling and I'm not sure if I'm using it in the right. It's not my language, but I was intertwining. I was bringing together my own self worth with my ability to be understood. Because for me, the thing that has been driving me is like, it's that love. Can I be accepted? Can I belong with you? It was fit in at first. or fit out, but can I belong with you? And if you don't understand, me, then I must not be one of you, because everyone else seems to be understood. Everyone else seems to be in that place there. And I'm going to offer something here. It's just come to me intuitively. I don't know if there's anything that, I don't need there to be anything for you. I'm not sure. Yeah, it's unattached. But I had one of the more profound elements that took place for me on that journey. It was this feeling of loneliness, and and really being like, if I'm not understood, then I won't be loved. And if I'm not loved, then I'll be alone. I won't belong, and I'll be all alone. And I was with the master coach. His name's Hayden Lee, and he spent some time with me, and he's like, "But you're an outlier. It's that you're someone who's going off and you're doing things most other people haven't done. It's innate to what that is, you know. Like right now, there's a thing that you're making loneliness a good or a bad thing. What if loneliness was just loneliness, not a pain, not a reward, but it just was?" And it was really interesting to me, Zach, because when he said it, it didn't make sense at first. I was just like, no, you don't get it. Like, this is a bad thing. Like, it's been the thing that's been with me, and it evolved. It evolved pretty quickly to a realization that, at the end of the day, we talk about being an outlier, being more of being you. You're saying freely express like your voice, and there's this element there when I think about it for the journey that I'm on, and then in the belonging to myself element, that is like, if you are actually going to be unique, it is inherently lonely. There are 7+ billion people on this earth. And if you choose to be the one and only, guess what? Like, almost by definition, the two of them go hand in hand. And there was a lot of freedom that I got in hearing, like, what if being lonely wasn't a bad thing? I don't necessarily look at it as a great thing now, but I also see it as like part of the journey. I'm willing to be lonely together with people. It's a very, like, I don't have to be alone in my loneliness, if that makes sense. But there's an element there that has really freed me to start doing this here, to be like, I don't, that doesn't matter what everyone else is doing. Like, I'm really embracing it and being here for me. And I'm just wondering if there's anything that connects or comes through from that there, as it applies to some of where you are in your journey right now. And it doesn't need to be.
Yeah, what's coming through for me is this idea that being, and we touched on it a little bit prior, but being in the space of uncertainty is how this works. I find it, I found it a little bit comical, a little bit ironic that I'm in the same space where I help a lot of clients when they are in this.
It makes perfect sense to me. It makes perfect sense to me. I like, they say you teach what you most need to know. Like, you are, it makes, I'm someone who can help other people figure out what makes them different and own that and bring it out into the world. And when someone comes and asks me, they're like, what is it that you do? What is it that, like, why would we invite you into our community or whatever? I'm like, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
We get really good at finding out and helping people with the thing that we most want help with. It makes perfect sense to me. Like you are a master. Everything that you're saying, everything that is messy for you, you are you're like, I love helping creatives organize and do this. Like, all of that elements there. I'm sure that when you spend time with creatives, you're able to just even just people, you're able to help them, like, get levels of clarity that they hadn't been able to see before, and be with all that stuff. Am I right in any of that?
Yeah, you are. There's a piece I want to add to that, which feels a little scary and vulnerable, and that is, I've really, within the last few months, I've really realized my capacity to be with people on a deep level, and to help people who are on, for lack of a better term, a spiritual path. And it feels vulnerable and scary to use that term, because there's people who judge those words, right? But like that's so much of what I care deeply about, is this connection between the spiritual journey for an individual and how they live their lives, and how they're creative, how they can learn to be more playful and connected to others, and connected and loving towards themselves, just as I'm in the stewing pot for that. I actually want to speak that out and say that because it feels like a really powerful affirmation. I'm damn good at holding space for people as their spiritual journey unfolds.
What are you feeling within you right now?
Joy, peace, gratitude. Yeah. You know, I what also comes to mind is I've really, in the past year as a coach, I've really struggled with marketing and language, because I think I was trained in certain ways of how to say things and how to do things to be successful as a coach. And what I'm finding is that that's not the language that fits. That's not the way that I want to market. It wasn't aligned, which I think brought about some of the deconstruction that's going on now. And what's present for me in this moment is just like I've been wanting to speak to my ability to help people in spiritual crises, as their spiritual journey unfolds, and I just haven't spoken to that
Until now.
Until now. Thank you.
Now, yeah.
Yeah. So I wanted to give voice.
You said it like to freely express your voice right here, and I want to honor that. I want to honor that without having to be much more than that. I just want to just check in. Like, what I'm seeing here is there's the groundedness, but there's also, like, when you said it was, when I asked you how you were feeling in your body, it was like the joy was palpable. It was just like, in a moment, split second, you're like, I'm gonna let it out. This is how I'm feeling around it. So I'm going to invite you, as you're going through this period here, to really allow this to be your time of alignment. This isn't standing still. You are doing work. You're doing the work of winter. You are creating. You're recreating yourself. You're incubating. You're hibernating. You're shedding that which is not you. You're shedding that which was you, so that you can come back and grow again. And here goes the thing. You're still, like, I'm going to use the image of the tree. You're still the tree that's out there through all 4 seasons. That the trunk and all that stuff is there. There are new leaves coming. There's new fruits that are going to be born. There's an element of this here, of being able to continue to be more rooted in what that is, and to follow that there, and to let that out there. And what is the most interesting thing about it to me is, for my journey, I've found that the more that I've been able to lean into that part of the fears that were surrounded being not accepted, fears of not being loved, fears of being alone, what's ended up happening is that I've gotten deeper, richer, relationships. I was going to say connections, but there aren't connections. They really are real relationships. I'm building friends for life across the world. I am talking to people who inspire me on a regular basis. And what's happening is that there's just more space for my kind of people to show up. And the thing that I thought was going to happen, the complete opposite happened. I ended up bringing in even more there. So there's an element of this here as you're going through. I want to offer that. I want to offer that space as you're going through and allowing love and openness and compassion and speaking and owning the voice of spiritual journeys. It's really great. It feels already like it can be within you. That through that, you'll get even more of what it is that you actually want.
Amen.
So Zach, right now I feel like this might be a good place. Like we could keep going and all that, but I feel like we're in a place of like there's enough here for you to work with here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just wrap us up here for today. And I think that, yeah, I think I really want to honor that. And part of me wants to go and say, okay, what's one thing you're going to do? What's one place you're going to be? And I'm going to hold off on that temptation, because this right now, it's about that shift. It's about voicing it like you did right here. It's about in these micro moments when you have the choice of, am I going to speak to the fear or not? Am I going to choose the openness or the love or not? So we'll let that sit. And I'll leave you with just the question of like, how can I free my voice that much more? I have a distinction between finding your voice and freeing your voice. It's like finding is what everyone else says out there. And it feels like to me, there's a voice that's inside of you that just needs to be let out and simply freed. It's not external, it's internal. So I'm going to leave you with that question just to kind of expand from where you are without having to take any action. How can I free my voice? Awesome. So I'm going to wrap things up here by just talking to everyone that's watching this here. We started out here. I didn't know where this conversation was going to go, but the question that comes to my mind here is around the coupling for you. We all have our different ways of intertwining, of overcoupling, of bringing things together that may not necessarily be correlated. And I'm going to invite you, as you go off in your day, think, what's one area in your life that might be overcorrelated? And use some of the conversation that just unfolded to explore what it might look like for you to decouple it, to explore the benefits that it's given you, and to also be able to see, what if I was able to get the results I wanted without having to go down this path? There's a lot in here for you, and I am really thrilled that we've gotten a chance to share this with you. Zach, I want to acknowledge you for coming and playing so fully in this conversation. It's part of the reason why I invited you. I love spending time with you and serving you on your journey. And I really want to honor you as you're honoring the period of winter.
Thank you, brother. It's been an honor to have this conversation. And as I said before, your service is truly invaluable. And thank you for asking me to do this talk.
Glad that we were able to make it happen.
Hey, Onyama here. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't yet, and then go ahead and leave one of your insights from today's video in the comments below. If you're looking to take this deeper, you can go and watch another video, or you can go to nyama.com/tribe to get exclusive invitation to our tribe member only events. I'll see you soon.